There's something in there. Hold up the light, man, it's a box. What is this thing? In the small town of Edenton in North Carolina, some community members had gathered together to renovate and rebuild an old house of worship. The building had been abandoned for years, and it was after long that the townsfolk took the initiative to get the building repaired, up and running. However, demolition of the ruins were halted when the local workers discovered an old box kept inside one of the walls of the house. It was chained and locked, but it had become so old and rusted that it broke apart with a few strikes. The workers were surprised to find a few pieces of paper that had been preserved inside, and on them were some writings. None of them were able to read it, and hence took the discovery to higher authorities, assuming it must be something important since they found it on what was once sacred grounds. Eventually, the strange discovery made its way to a research institution in Edenton, where it was handed to archaeologist Jean Irvine. When Jean caught sight of the material, she was sure she was looking at something that could contain a lot of historical information. It was an opportunity to uncover more knowledge. However, she was bewildered herself by the ancient language. She had never seen anything like it. The symbols in which the texts were written were not similar to any other existing language. Linguist Gregory Rhodes was assigned onto the team to decipher this piece of writing. I'm confused myself. This text doesn't match any other language. It's as if this was scrawled with inscrutable, incomprehensible glyphs. As you know, it was found in an abandoned building on the outskirts of town. The locals here say it was a place of worship at one point. I've researched many other similar findings from the surrounding area. Why don't you take a look at them? Look, there is a slight resemblance to some of these archaic letters and occult symbols used in all these other sources. No, Jean, this is nothing like these texts. This is an absolutely new language, most likely created by someone who had knowledge of both ancient and modern languages. It's a code. The carbon dating results came in. This material dated back to the 1800s. That's nearly 200 years ago. Someone who had the knowledge of ancient languages was rare, and modern languages? How could that be possible? And considering the person had hidden it with enough precaution that it lasted to this date, we must be onto something big. I suppose I know someone who can help us. He's a friend of mine. He's a computer scientist at the BII University. He's been working on a decoding software. Though it's still in the process of making, I'm not sure if it will work, but there's no harm in giving it a try. Upon request, Roger Sullivan, a computer scientist, agreed to help out on the research work after he himself heard of the strange story behind this bizarre discovery. He arrived at the Edenton Institution a few days later, where the three colleagues sat down and got to work. Roger loaded the information onto the software. This might take all night. I'm in doubt if this will work. I've never worked with material like this before. When you told me about the discovery, I was quite intrigued. In these past days, I looked into the matter myself, and I found something that totally got me sitting on the edge of my seat. What? Irvine, have you looked into the site itself, where these papers were found? According to my research, this box was brought from a different house of worship. From Sicily, Italy, to America. The building in Edenton was constructed a long time back. It was an old house of worship. However, according to historical accounts, this house of worship had been broken down by people sometime after the shipment. But why? Are you saying this could be some sort of time capsule, diary or message from one of the members? I can't say, but there has to be something about it to break down a house of worship and the townsfolk wouldn't protest? Well, I dived into what the locals knew about the place. I learned there was some sort of disagreement among the members. What sort of disagreement? There's a legend that goes around here. A portion of this house of worship was used as a convent where a group of sisters in faith resided. Of the sisters, there was one woman, Sister Genevieve, who had come into the notice of the other sisters. She often spent time alone by the altar in the main place of worship, in front of the building, and was sometimes found speaking all on her own in her room. The other sisters suspected her of doing something she wasn't supposed to do. She was hiding something. What? No, you're all misunderstanding me. I was praying to the Lord. I beg him to save us from all evil. Lying will only put you and us into more trouble. You're ruining yourself, sister. No, believe me, I'm not lying. Then where do you go in the middle of the night? You think we don't hear your murmurs? You've been meeting someone. You'll not be able to find any proof of me being indecent. I can't do such a thing. Our faces will be blackened if people know what you've been up to. No, sisters, believe me, I've been feeling like something terrible is to occur. I only go to pray to the Lord to save us. The sisters didn't believe her and complained to the abbess, who looked into the matter, finding the allegations to be unexpectedly true. Sister Genevieve was expelled out of the convent and confined to a cell where she would remain in punishment for her misconduct. While she was there, strange things began to happen at the confinement center. The security guards were frightened to hear piercing screams from Sister Genevieve's cell. In the middle of the night, the woman would scream at the top of her lungs as if she were being attacked. But when authorities went to inspect the matter, they couldn't find a reason to the woman's fear, except for her own bizarre claims. Please, please, I must go to the altar. I must plead to the Lord, or an evil power will overtake me. You're not getting out of here. No, please, you don't understand. I don't want to die like this. I've lived a life of righteousness. Keep your lies to yourself. You're not pious. You're under sin. Authorities assumed that all that the woman had been doing was an act to get herself out of confinement. They believed the woman was sinful. She had to be punished, and through her they would set an example so no one would dare commit the wrong she had. They kept her locked up and didn't pay heed to her words. However, over the days, her condition continued to worsen to the point where the authorities themselves became skeptic if this was an act, or if the woman was truly in pain. They began to find the woman fallen to the ground from her bed, her wrists and ankles twisted and dislocated. They attempted to help her, but she was irresponsive to anything they asked her and continued speaking things that made no sense. She's possessed. There is no resisting the forces of evil. This is the consequence of all the wrong she has committed. Look what sin has done to her. There is no resisting the forces of evil. There is no resisting the forces of evil. There is no resisting the forces of evil. Authorities soon began to find the woman with strange cuts, bruises, and marks over her body, some in places where she could not have done to herself. When these strange incidents continued, they called the high priest to come see the woman. It has taken power over her. She is possessed. She must be cleansed before this evil overtakes her soul. The touch of the fire. The fire.
I must soon go, or he will take me to him.
No, I don't want to go.
But he will give me all I want.
No, his promise is false. The high priest tried everything he could in an attempt to cure the woman, but nothing helped her. These unusual occurrences continued. The woman shrieked and yelled odd things. Until one day, Genevieve was found unconscious in her cell. On the ground was spilled a container of ink that had stained all her clothing. A quill was still in her hand, and this letter was found scrawled on. No one could decipher its meaning. The Dark Lord has written it through me. This is a message from the Dark Lord. When the woman regained consciousness, she continued to scream and claimed absurd things. Those letters were sent to the elders of the house of worship to get some insight as to what the woman could be trying to communicate. But before anyone could reach any conclusion, the following morning, Sister Genevieve was found lifeless in her cell. No one knew how she passed away. All that remained of her was this letter she left behind. This is quite strange indeed. If Sister Genevieve passed away, then who hid these letters inside the building? One of the other members? There's no way we can confirm these legends. Over time, the original story is bound to change. Perhaps so, but it is true that one of the sisters was expelled from the convent there, passed away in confinement, and it's most likely that the house of worship was broken down after that. Even if the legend is true, today we have better understanding on mental health. It could just be that the woman was suffering from schizophrenia, which led her to behave like that. Without the proper treatment, she must have suffered a brain stroke, a heart attack from fear. It could be anything. Yeah, but one thing still doesn't make sense. How could she write something that requires her to have extensive knowledge of linguistics? Schools in that time didn't teach such. No one even possessed the knowledge to teach it in the first place. This is all quite strange. It was around 6 in the morning. The team had fallen asleep on their desks, looking through numerous reports and evidence, trying to link one incident to the other. Roger rushed to his computer to find the text had been successfully decoded. Rhodes, Arvine, it worked! It worked! Jean and Gregory hurried to read the code. But what they discovered sent chills down their spine. The Dark Lord will soon come to power. The day is near when mankind shall serve him. The day mankind will bow to him as slaves. The Dark Lord will rise above all. No one shall escape his power. And the first of all signs shall be knowledge of this message. Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.